Hi, this is Jack Stanley and a little talk on history. Today's little talk is on George Washington and wooden teeth. How many times have you heard that George Washington had wooden teeth? Well, he didn't. However, that myth has been going on for a long time. Some say the myth was created by the British, who were very aware that George Washington had terrible teeth and actually went across enemy lines to visit a dentist. But the thing is that George Washington did have terrible teeth. By the time he was 24 years of age, he was already starting to lose his teeth. And by the time he was in his 40s and 50s, he had very few left. And by the time he was president, he had about one tooth left, which they would tie the dentures to. And his dentures were not like today's dentures, of course. It was very different. You got to understand, in those days, you couldn't make dentures in molds like they make them today. We didn't have the resins and things that could make the fake teeth. But the thing is that what they did do was they would use all different types of teeth and all types of ivory. There would be hippopotamus tusks, and people would sell their teeth, actually. And there is some debate going on back and forth whether Washington bought some of the teeth from his slaves. We're not quite sure. There's a little bit of info either way, but it looks like perhaps 9 teeth were sold by slaves for Washington. And probably other people did as well, selling their teeth because you could get quite a bit of money for them. Now, one of the sets of teeth that were put together for Washington was a set made by Paul Revere. And they were very well made, and of course he was a wonderful metalsmith. And on the outside of the dentures were springs. And you may say, why would there be springs? Well, there was nothing like Polident and all kinds of denture adhesives in those days. So the only way you could hold them in place was by pressure. And so the springs would force the sides of the dentures against his gums. And if he wasn't paying attention, his mouth would spring open like that. And that could be pretty embarrassing. But the thing is that he got lots of sores in his mouth from the springs, and he had to use something called laudanum, which has opium in it. And that would make George feel better. I bet it did. But nonetheless, just remember this. If somebody tells you George had wooden teeth, he didn't. He had dentures. Rudimentary dentures, but dentures nonetheless.